Lord of the Ringless Power has been the subject of controversy ever since it was announced. It was clear from the start that this series had no intention of staying true to the lore at all, and when you make a series of the same name and completely change the story, it does not make a whole lot of sense. For many, the Tolkien story did not need a reimagination or a retelling from a different perspective, and as such the excitement over the new Lord of the Rings content very quickly turned into disappointment. At this point, pretty much everyone agrees that the writing is just not very good. Unfortunately, just like with She-Hulk, you have those who attached race and sex to the show, and thus criticizing the show means you have a certain race or certain sex. The opposite has also unfortunately shown its head. You have those who are trying to scientifically explain why an elf or a hobbit can't be black, and these people need to get a life. If you look past those sad individuals, though, there is some serious criticism levied against the show that just cannot be ignored. First is the fact that the show is based on Tolkien's work and yet has nothing to do with Tolkien's work. Fantasy can exist outside of Lord of the Rings, as Game of Thrones has proved, and this would have been the perfect time to start a new world. Unfortunately, that is not what ended up happening, and the result of this has been extremely disappointing. The showrunners and defenders of this show have not taken kindly to this criticism, and as such we have seen extreme attacks levied against fans who have been disappointed by the show. This might not come directly from the showrunners, but rather from online defenders going against online critics. To The Hollywood Reporter, the showrunners themselves spoke out.
Since Amazon's billion-dollar high fantasy launched September 2nd, The Rings of Power has been blessed with strong critical acclaim, 84% positive on Rotten Tomatoes, and dragged by online fan bashing. Its audience score is 39%, which includes an unknown degree of review bombing at the hands of internet trolls. The show's Nielsen viewership is formidable. Its first 2 episodes were seen by roughly 12.6 million US viewers across its first 4 days.
Although I do agree that there has been some trolling with the score, it is worth pointing out that it does go the other way as well. The defenders gave it 10 out of 10 even before watching it, and the haters did the same with a 0 score.
But given this is Lord of the Rings, the bar is insanely high, and nobody knows the stakes better than Payne and McKay. They're 2 first-time showrunners who embarked on an unexpected journey nearly 5 years ago to make their J.R.R. Tolkien passion project, and have now found themselves, as McKay puts it, on the fault line of the culture war, with everybody from armies of anonymous Tolkien fans to the 2 richest men in the world weighing in. It ain't easy to focus on writing scripts and managing a cast and crew of 1,300 on the most complicated TV production of all time when Elon Musk is slagging you on Twitter. Some of what's been hardest to hear is the cynical point of view that this is a cash grab, McKay says. It's like, oh my God, the opposite. This is the most earnest production. This is not a paycheck job for anybody. This is a labor of love.
Only the writers will know the true intent of the show and what their motives are, but they must also understand why they are in this culture war to begin with. When the show's identity is attached to race and sex, you will find yourself in the middle of a war. There is nothing wrong with having a black elf, no matter what the internet scientists say about, just like there is nothing wrong with having a black woman play a dwarf. The best thing you can do for those characters, though, is to write a great story that centers around the work of Tolkien. What you do not do is ignore the lore. Write poor characters and make the advertising of the show be around how diverse you are instead of the plot. House of the Dragon should be your example. There is nothing wrong with having female leads or black characters. It is normal and should be treated as normal. If you pat yourself on the back and make a big deal over your casting choices, do not be surprised when other people start to question your motives. The showrunners go on to say, some people had nice things to say about the pilot and 2nd episode, or they didn't have nice things to say, but I hope they stay for more episodes, McKay says. The bar has to keep going up. The criticism they can handle, and they've heard it all. Everything fans have debated. They say they likewise argued among the creative team. They readily admit, for instance, that some of the first season episodes lack the urgency fans expect from Tolkien adaptations. One of the big things we learned was even when it's a small scene, it always has to tie back into the larger stakes, Payne says. There are things that didn't work as well in season 1 that might have worked in a smaller show, McKay agrees. It has to be about good and evil and the fate of the world, or it doesn't have that epic feeling you want when you're in Tolkien. Overall, there seemed to be a lot of missteps taken here, with the way the show was advertised and with the direction of the story. It is not too late to turn things around, but considering that the main problem with the show is writing, I just do not see how that would be possible going forward if the same people who wrote the first season will be responsible for writing the second season as well.